I want to change the name there. So this is going to be the constructor, and this will be named baseband2.m. Okay? Thanks. Thank you. Okay, so that's baseband2.m. So this is now the new constructor. And so if I click on that, and this has all this stuff in it, I don't need that, right? In fact, what I need there is a description of what's called the class definition. And so one thing you can do, even I did it like this, you can also create a new one directly from here. So let's say I'm going to get out of this, and I go back to this guy. Let's call this. Let's save here. Okay, so I'm going to create a new one here. So we're going to say File, New Script. Okay, so we're creating a new script. Oops, I didn't mean new script. I mean new class. File, New Class. Okay, so that's right now untitled 2, and where did it go? I don't see it anyway. Oh, here it is. So let's save this. Say File, Save As. Okay, and now I need to move it to, let's see, desktop, and that's Spring, where is that? Yeah, there, here. We're going to put it in here, baseband 2, okay? And so we're going to save this there, all right? Now, that is untitled, so let's change that to the constructor name, which is now going to be called baseband 2. Baseband 2, okay? So this is now the constructor. I also have to change that here in the class definition, baseband 2, right? Now, here are the properties, and so the properties essentially define the, these are like the nouns and the adjectives, you know, you're describing like the elements that you want in a vector, the scale value that you're using to describe something, the colors of a figure, okay, these are all in the properties. To save a little bit of time, I'm going to cheat a little bit. And so the properties then that we I'm going to grab the properties. Actually, so let's put them in. Okay, so now one other thing I forgot to mention. Why is that highlighted like that? That should not be highlighted like that. That should be the same name. Let's see, baseband 2. Baseband 2. If you run your cursor over it, sometimes it'll tell you why it's class name does not agree with untitled 2. So I guess I haven't changed this name. Oh, this is still untitled 2. So I thought I had changed that untitled 2 name. It's not here. Okay, so apparently that's not what I want. So let me copy this. And then let's go into this guy. Okay, I don't know what's going on. Okay, so this is now baseband 2. Okay, so this is the baseband 2 file corresponding to baseband 2 inside of the class folder, baseband 2 class folder. Some of the properties that we want to define are the channel. Now, these are basically default properties. So H is equal to, well, I think I need to do a copy here so I save some time. So let me go up then to here. We're going to go in here. And baseband gen. Okay, so these are the values that are used right now. So let me just sort of copy this. Okay, into this baseband 2. Okay, so right now there are no properties here. So I'm going to put some properties. And so control and paste. Okay, so now what are these? Well, you see, these are just assignments, really, right? So what are the assignments? These basically give default values. So let's go back here. So these are basically default values associated with this class. So when you start the class and instantiate an object, if it doesn't have any other information, it'll go to this default set of elements and say, this is the default data. Okay? So if you just instantiate an object with an empty parameter list, it will come up with these properties for that object. All right? Also, it's good to put all the properties that you want your class to have, even if you don't know what the value is. Notice y is the what? Y is the output. Okay, so let's put that here. So y is the output. Do we know the output when we start this, this particular object? No, because we need the binary data, right? So we can use what's called a null element, and that's just brackets, just empty brackets. Okay, question?
How does it determine the length of the array for that?
For y?
Yes.
So this is sort of a placeholder. Mm-hmm. So it's a null array type, so it doesn't have any length, basically. It's like a null length string.
So it's going to automatically adjust it as y populates?
So later on, we will update y. So we'll, in a sense, overwrite the null character of y with a y of a specific length based on the what? The number of input bits. Mm-hmm. Okay? But that's a very good question. The key thing here is feel free to define null elements for things you can't know when you initiate the object. All right? So if there's something you can't know until someone, let's say, tells you, okay, make it red or make it length 100 or something, you can describe a parameter that's a placeholder parameter, and then later, when that information is available, you can update it, and it'll be updated in this property element list. Okay? Okay, then we have to define the methods. Now, the approach that I suggest is to only place the constructor, what's called the constructor, in this particular file. Okay, so that's the only thing we're going to place here. All the other constructors will be in external files. Okay, I'm not the constructor. All the other methods will be in external files. Okay, so the method that we'll place here is the constructor method, which is kind of the initialization method, the thing that generates when you initialize the object. And the other methods you'll generate whenever you decide to run those particular methods. Okay? There's one other thing that I want to mention. Question?
Yeah, how do you know what to put in properties? Like you get those 7.
That's a great question. So remember I was saying here, so the first thing you want to realize is that you're like a painter now, right? You're no longer engineers. You're sort of creators of artwork. Sorry, wrong one. You're creators of artwork, right? You've got to kind of decide, how do you want that? Now, what I was saying here earlier is you sort of decide what goes into this thing, right? Well, you've got your input data. You're going to need some kind of waveform somewhere, right? You're going to have something that's going to describe noise. Maybe there's a parameter that's going to tell you something about the noise power or noise variance. There's going to be a fading channel, right? So you have to kind of describe what are all the things that can affect this system description. All right, and that's what that's how in part we define it. But it's never perfect. So you may describe something and realize, boy, I need another element. What do? You just update your class and you add a new element. Okay, so you don't have to be perfect from the get-go. You start with something, and later when you realize, okay, maybe I need a new parameter. Maybe it's a kind of an adjective-like parameter or more of a noun parameter. Then you put it in there. Okay. We also need to add methods. So the method here is essentially the way you describe it. It's essentially a function. I'm sorry. Let's switch back to laptop. So it's a function, and you say object, and then you take the name of the class, baseband 2, and then I use something called varargen. It's a variable argument input list. And please type help on varargen. We are a little bit out of time, okay? So, but what I'm trying to do to you, so I'm going to hit stop. All right, so I'm going to